stop talking now. Okay, welcome everyone to Busybird Publishing for the launch of Pride by Lazaros Zigomanis. I would like to start by acknowledging the traditional owners of this land, the Wurundjeri Willam clan. And I think it's very appropriate that we do that because the book has some elements of their culture in the book. So, this is so exciting. I suddenly feel emotional. One of your own, that's why. Les and I have been friends for 10 years. Pretty much on the dot, maybe a month ago, we met at Professional Writing and Editing, and there's quite a few people in the room that were always also there. I read Pride, I think in 2008 or maybe end of 2007, and I have been championing it ever since. And I have been hounding Les to let me publish it, and he keeps saying no, because I'm his friend, and I don't know, there's all those sorts of things that go with friendships. So I'm very happy that he finally gave in, and here we have, I wore him down. So this is actually our first young adult novel. So we're in an area that we're not so familiar with, but I'm very excited. I took the books to the distributor today. They're very excited about it. We have a book publicist on it, and he's very excited about it. So it will be in bookshops in June, and I'm very confident that it's going to do very well. So you'll notice that on the front it says Lazaros Zigomanis. There's a reason for that. That's because he's actually having another novel published later in the year. So we're trying to separate the two. But Lazarus is actually Les's real name. So that's why we've gone with that. So there's lots of thank yous, but I think I'll do those at the end. I'm so grateful for so many people here. It's suddenly, as Melbourne does, it's suddenly turned wintry, and as always on a launch day we start getting calls and emails saying I can't come, and we know it's because of the weather. People don't want to brave it, and thank you for people. We have people from interstate here tonight, people who have travelled a long way. I know, coming out from the city especially is a pain because it's an hour and a half with traffic. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for everyone for supporting Busybird and Lazaros. So I'm very excited to have Kat Clarke here tonight to officially launch this book. Kat was kind enough to read the book for Les last year to make sure that we weren't stepping on anyone's toes in terms of cultural sensitivities, and so we really thank her for that. But she's been a champion of the book as well, so we thought appropriate that she launch it. So I'd like to welcome Kat.
All right. I did have a few words that I wrote, and they were sort of just like dot points because I like to be real and authentic when I do deliver, or when I do deliver a lot of my talks, and mainly because I think it's just a way of me connecting with you as an audience as well, to go with the vibe and the energy that's in the room. As Aboriginal people, we tend to like to go on the sense of energy and the way vibes are and things like that. So I think that's a really good way. And coming in tonight, I found a very great vibe. You're all very, talkative and excited, and just as excited as Blaise and Les is. So it's really great to see the support that Les is getting for this book and Busybird has got for this, for publishing it. I'd first like to pay my acknowledgements to the traditional owners, the Kulin Nations as well, just to elders past and present and their ancestors, as well as all nature's beauties and gifts that we do have in this great land that we do have, and also for coming here today. When I first met Les, I met him doing a talk actually on Indigenous storytelling and how you communicate that. And what are the processes around, proper protocols in delivering when you're telling Indigenous stories, especially for someone who's a non-Indigenous person. How do you go about that? How do you actually connect or find some sort of way to tell a story that's an Indigenous perspective when you're not Indigenous? And I'd have to say, when Les first asked me to actually read the book, I was a little bit hesitant at first because I'm not used to actually reading manuscripts. I do a lot in film, so I consult a lot with film and producers and around that sort of area. And then when I'd only just started getting into manuscripts and literary writing and all of that sort of stuff. So Les is sort of one of those first people that sort of trusted me, and I feel very privileged and humbled to have that. Him trust me enough with what he has written. Okay, so I guess what I really wanted to say too is storytelling is something that is oral for us, as you know. On top of that, it's second nature, much like football for us as well. It comes second nature for us. Most of you would understand that mangruk, the word term mangruk, others might not, that it was originally AFL football. So footy rules back then was played by Aboriginal people. It was founded in Victoria here, and many tribes played with a possum skin ball and made up, and that would be played, and the game would be played on for hours. It could go on for days even sometimes, and that would be big mobs would come together from across the country, and they'd all play in that sport and have a lot of fun. And when I think about football, I think about those things. I think about how it's a long tradition. I think about how it's still a pride of Australia, and I think how it's very much within all our blood as well, in a way. In some sense, we've all got a little bit of a footballer inside of us as well. So very much fitting, I think, for the book, and I think very much in the sense of what pride is. So if I could just get you to close your eyes for about 5 seconds. I'd like you to just remember those winter chills, those hot pies, your heart's beating, the car park and the radio's going, a siren calls, fans are cheering, and that goal is kicked and you cannot be more happier. You're ecstatic. And that's how I think you're going to feel about this book. That's the type of feeling I want you to feel about this book. It is something that will make you cheer, make you laugh, make you scream for injustice, but also just give you that breath of what real Aussie football is. So I'd like to get you all to raise a glass, or at least a phone or something, or raise the book even, and just giving a cheers and a hurrah to Les and Busybird Publishing and Blaise for actually achieving this. This is a great moment for them, and congratulations on your first young adult novel, Les. Happy
So if you are wondering what Kat does, she does a lot in the area of script writing, and I think she's even been on TV very recently.
Wentworth,
On Wentworth, so she's a bit famous. So now I would like to introduce Lazaros. He's going to, I think he has something written, and he's going to have a little speech. So welcome, Les.
Okay, thanks to everybody for coming out tonight. Yeah, really bad winter night. If we did this last week, would have been able to do it in shorts and a t-shirt. Thanks to Melbourne, it's changed dramatically. So thanks to everybody who's come out. I'm really flattered by the amount of people, from old friends, like I have 12 friends there, Tom and John, who I've known since 1977, 1978, to all the new friends I've made over the last 10, 15 years. A few have come from long places, such as Kathy George has come from Queensland, Marty Green's come from Sydney, Alex come from St Kilda. So, just want to thank everybody. Somebody asked me earlier about how long this story had been in the making, and I think sort of to explore that, you really need to understand writing as a vocation. I mean, there's a lot of writers in here. And I know what I'm talking about when I say writing is a really lonely vocation. If you're happy, if you have a well-balanced life, if you look forward to tomorrow, and you want to introduce some misery into your life, there's 2 ways to go about it. One is to buy a membership to the Collingwood Football Club. And the second is to become a writer. It's really just, you know, you deal... Sorry?
You've got both.
I'm only 27, that's what my hair's gone. But you just sort of deal constantly with the insecurity that you're not going to be able to produce something worthwhile. You always have crippling panic that when you sit at the keyboard, the words won't come, or if they come, they'll be crap. When you finally get enough words on the page to send them somewhere, you're waiting for months upon months upon months. Prior, I submitted a few years ago to a different publisher, and they got back to me after 15 months with a no thanks. He gave me some really nice feedback, but it's still no thanks. And you know, and that's the other thing, is just constant rejection. It's the writer's life is just constant rejection. So it's really important as a writer you develop a fraternity. I don't know if that's the right word anymore, but a support network of other writers, such as Blaise has been really great for me, Alec Patrick, Belle Woods, who couldn't make it tonight, Laurie Steed, Ryan O'Neill, and a number of others. You know, we talk constantly about writing and how we're going and the frustrations we're facing, and it's just really good to have people there who can empathise with you and understand the pain you're going through and the insecurity also. So going back to the question of, you know, this book's been 15 years in the making. I wrote it originally in 2002. I had the idea, I reckon, early in 1990, 91, which is just about a freakish footballer, and I didn't touch it, you know, didn't write anything about it for about 10, 11 years, and when I finally started writing the idea, it really transformed into something else about football in country leagues, and about the mystery surrounding this amazing player who emerged from nowhere, and the way the choices of the past can shape our future. So I think to any other writers in here who sort of sit there at the keyboard, I think, what's the point? What's the, you know, where's this getting me? I've been working on this novel for 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, whatever. It just shows that perseverance does pay off. Perseverance ultimately, I believe, is the #1 attribute any writer needs. You will not get anywhere unless you can persevere, and that applies to any issue you'll face in writing, whether you're having writer's block, whether you're trying to get published, or you're trying to finish something. The answer to all those issues is perseverance. You need to persevere. And part of in persevering, I've evolved as a writer, and a lot of that's because I have met other people who've been able to give me feedback on my work, and I've been able to improve because of it. So the book that you have in your hands, hopefully you have in your hands, is infinitely better than, you know, the book as it existed 6 years ago, 6 months ago. You know, it's just so much a better book. So I'm going to thank some people. If I forget anybody, it's not intentional. It's just, you know, it's nerve-wracking standing in front of a lot of people.
No, it's not. Come on, mate.
You're right. So there are a bunch of people who've helped with Pride and its evolution. Someone who is here, and she probably doesn't actually realise she helped, is Helen Corionis, who's just standing there in the back. Who she read one chapter and she liked it, but she gave me some feedback and it forced me to think about the way that chapter opened, because the opening chapter of any book is just, you know, it really needs to grab people. You know, people like it aren't grabbed, especially in today's age. If a book doesn't grab someone in the first, I don't know, couple of pages, they're not going to keep reading. So thanks to her. Thanks to my writing group who workshops on Pride, Gina Boothroyd, who's here, Tess Evans, who's here, Jasmine Bowell, who's not here, Blaise, Bo, who's here, and Bo actually performed an assessment of Pride a number of years ago, probably 10 years ago for another publisher, so he gave me a lot of invaluable feedback. People who've proofreaded it, to Jessica Worski, not here, Ashley Andrews, who is here, Jessica Waters, Claire Miller, Hannah Bilbrough, who all did parts of Pride. Jennifer Walker, who was the work experience girl we had here, and we got her to read it. We need to give them something to do, or they just eat all that chocolate. And to Tom O'Connell, who did officially the proofing, who's also here, so a really big thank you to them. Thank you to Laura McCluskey, who's my talented young editor. She's a great writer in her own right, and she challenged me to ensure that Pride was the best it could be. And as a writer, you really need to be open to feedback. You can't just sort of be precious and sit there and think you don't get it. If someone brings up a point, you need to really examine whether that point has validity. And if it does have validity, then you need to start exploring the options of how to address that in the revision. Kev Howlett, everyone has commented on the cover about how much they love the cover, and it is a brilliant cover. It's, you know, I really just had a vague idea when Kevin Blaise sat me down and said, "What do you think for the cover?" I scribbled out something terrible on a napkin and said, "This is what I would like." And then Kev went away and said, "Oh, I've done this instead." And it was so much better than, you know, my napkin, which Blaise has probably framed and sold on eBay now. So thanks to Kev for the cover. You know, so many people have commented on it, and I really believe covers are important because, you know, you're in the bookstore and you look across the way and on this shelf you see a book, and the first thing you see is the cover. That's the first thing that will draw your attention to a book and make you pick it up. Even if it's a terrible book, in the end, the cover is the first, is the first seduction with that book. Kat Clarke. I really can't thank her enough for her selfless help. I saw her, I think she came from the Book Lovers Festival doing a talk on Layla Library, and I really knew, because I had used Indigenous characters in this, I was thinking, I don't know if I've gotten them right, I don't know if I'm doing things wrong here. I mean, I'm an idiot at the best of times, so when I'm writing, I'm not really listening, I'm just in my zone, pouring words out onto the page. So I went and saw Kat speak at Layla Library, and I, you know, really listened intently. She speaks with great passion, she speaks with great eloquence. And after the talk, I ambushed her and just sort of asked her, I said, "This is the book I've written, and this is the premise. Am I, you know, misrepresenting the Indigenous culture?" And, you know, she offered to read it, and like I don't know if I should be telling people this because you might get swamped now by all these other writers of Indigenous. And I offered to pay her repeatedly, and she just declined because she wanted to do it out of the goodness of her heart and her, you know, belief that Indigenous characters are represented accurately. So I really thank Kat, because I don't think this book could have been what it is. She provided me like a manuscript assessment on the draft that I gave her. She also gave me feedback on characteristics, things like slang used, and emotional resonance and things like that, which when I went back over it, I was hopefully able to introduce that so it works well. If it doesn't, it's not Kat's fault, it's just or my editors. Sorry. No, just kidding. And I don't think I've really missed any other individual out, other than Blaise, who she did read a first draft, I think, in 2007. And as I said, when you are a writer, you need that support network of other writers around you. And Blaise has constantly been there. She's constantly read my stuff. She has constantly put up with me texting her saying, "Have you read this yet? What do you think of it? What do you think?" So she read this in 2007 and she loved it, and I gave her stuff after 2007, which was different books, and she always felt a devotion to this book. This book was won an Oliver Wood Fellowship in 2009, where I was mentored into a revision by Inga Simpson. It's another thank you, which I forgot it's in the book though, but Inga's not here. Inga Simpson, who wrote Mr. Wig for Hachette and Nest and Where the Trees Were, she's a great writer. And when I got back from that fellowship, which was in Queensland, I worked on the revision, and Blaise read it again and gave me feedback, and I think she's probably read it 9-10 times, just constantly evolving. So
it's amazing to have a friend like that who will always be there, who will always listen to you, and you know, part of the writing journey, as because it is so depressing, she will hear things like, I fucking give up, I've had it with this, I'm going to burn this, I'm going to throw this into the trash, I'm going to pick up my computer, carry it onto the garage roof and see how it falls, and all that sort of stuff, and she just listened to all of it. And she's just been a great sounding board, and she's been a great supporter of this book, so thank you to Blaise, I really appreciate it. Words of which, ironically, you know, what I meant to be doing as a writer, I cannot articulate, you know, how deeply thankful I am to you, so thanks for that.
And finally to Busybird Publishing, just for believing in the book. As I said, this book's been around 15 years. I think it's been rejected by pretty much every publisher. Some of them have been really, you know, giving me really great feedback. Told me they liked it, that they think it was right for their list and all that sort of stuff. But in a way, that's actually helped. It's been a challenge. It's like every time it's been knocked back, I've looked at it and said, okay, it needs something greater. And as I said now, I think now it's a much more fully realised book, and it's better for the journey. So thanks to Busybird Publishing, and again, thanks to everyone for coming. Thank you. I hope you like the layout too, because we use this temperamental bastard to do the layout. So I hope he's produced something that's visually pleasing, aesthetically pleasing. Okay, so I'm going to read, how long? An hour? Okay. Boots, left first, my kicking foot, laces tied, then the right, socks up, down, up, then back down. I actually thought Melissa would do it. Bundled around my ankles, jumper on but not tucked in. There, ready. Our club rooms were dingy and stunk of liniment that had leached into the bricks. Outside, training unfolded. The thud of footballs as they were kicked. Teammates crying for passes while others joked and laughed. The camaraderie was tribal and made me feel I could accomplish anything. It might be some bush league, but at 18, I knew, I hoped, it could still be a springboard for something better. I rose from the cold wooden bench and jogged out of the club rooms, my boots clattering across the concrete apron that led down to our ground. While it was evening, it wasn't quite dark and still warm for this time of year, although the gentlest breeze just night would offer some relief. 2 light towers illuminated one pocket and flank of our open spheres of light. Huddles of players kicked footballs back and forth while our coach, Percy Hunt, watched, hands on hips, his belly bulging in his Ulo Ravens football jersey. On with it, Luke, he told me. Training was casual, glorified kick to kick, followed by loose drills. The young guys ran hard, filled with enthusiasm and eager to secure a spot, while most of the older guys were indifferent. The errant passes and spilled marks were many. The offender usually chuckled and cantered over to the next group, where other players sucked in deep breaths. Then it happened all over again. Let's show some run, Percy said. Typical Percy, always trying to get something started as he paced back and forth. And I wanted to encourage the others. When I sprinted from one group, I marked the ball in front of my face and speared a low pass to our grizzled full forward, Matt Reynolds. Matt was a veteran of the team, almost 40, he'd played for 20 years and was one of only 2 current players to have played in our last premiership. The ball shot through his hands, hit his stomach, as bulbous as the head of any hot air balloon, and ricocheted away. He gasped as he bent low. "Easy, Luke," he said. "Try to drill a hole through me or something." I hid my disappointment and joined the group he'd come from. They clustered like a herd of sheep wanting to stray. Sean Mercher, my best friend, bounced on the spot at the back, anxious to get into it. He arched his brows at me. "Waste of a nice pass," he said. A chorus of sharp and mournful wails echoed across the ground, the curlews, which fed the brush outside the far wing before the embankment to the creek. They usually prowled about on their long legs, their choir so common that most of the time they were background noise, but now they scattered and shrieked.
Is that something Sean said?
Everybody frowned and squinted. The brush led down a steep embankment to a creek that ran the length of our ground and weaved its way through some of the neighbouring towns. On the other side, clusters of gum trees are silhouettes against the crimson sky, the tip of the sun a sombre orange peeking over a hill. Somebody hopped the railing. He must have come up the embankment and approached with an easy-going grace. I'll leave it there. That's the history of one of the stories. Everybody for coming tonight. Thank you.
That's the official stuff done. It's an interesting relationship between a writer and publisher in terms of if you don't have the story, you can't publish something, and vice versa. So while the publishing world is changing very dramatically at the moment, we're still huge believers for the printed word. None of this ebook stuff. Obviously this will be an ebook, but I'm still a huge advocate for the printed word. And I'm so excited to be able to bring this story out into the world finally, after wearing him down. So obviously, I'd like to thank, I'm going to call him Les because I'm used to calling him Les, even though he's Lazaros on here. Thank you for letting us publish it. And is this actually, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Thank you for writing this, who had their name on. Thank you for writing it. Les is always writing. He has so many novels ready to go. And so I think in the next 3 years, he'll probably have 3 or 4 novels out. So watch this space.
Something will be good too.
So thank you once again for Kat for launching tonight. We really appreciate you coming out. Thank you to everyone who worked on the book, all the editors or the editor, Laura, and all the proofreaders. Thank you to Kev so much for your cover and for agreeing to all the things that I say we can do. Because you can't do things on your own, you need a team. And so we have a fantastic team at Busybird, and we just keep going from strength to strength. I did have a week last week when I said I'm giving it all up because I was having a fight with Australia Post, and I'm not joking. I actually said to Kev, I've had enough, I'm not doing this anymore. And he was like, oh yeah. No, seriously, Australia Post was really because they didn't deliver something and it was a 12-month project and I needed a book now, and I ordered the books at 5 o'clock when it should have been done the day before. Anyway, enough of that. So, I think I've said all my thank yous. I apologise if I've forgotten anybody. Thank you all so much for coming. Obviously this is our space, so we can be here as long as we like. Please feel free to stay, buy a book if you don't have a book. Get it signed by Les. He's going to have a sore arm. He's going to complain tomorrow that he can't work because he's got a sore arm, most likely. There's lots of beer and wine and tea and coffee up the back there. So thank you so much for coming.
And can I just apologise in advance? My handwriting is really bad, so
Doesn't matter.
really ugly. So.
Oh, sorry, one more thing. Kev has been recording all the speeches, so and sort of doing a bit of roving video work, if you like. Video, I don't know, video involved. And bits and pieces will go up on YouTube. So if you are very adverse to that happening, please let Kev know. So thank you all for coming, and let's party.
I don't